Fire Radio.
Stop beating up your expensive sunglasses on or off the job. Frontline Optics is a sunglass brand based out of San Diego, designed for first responders. If you're like me, you're constantly breaking and scratching your expensive designer sunglasses at work. Frontline Optics offers a no questions asked replacement program to cover your lost or damaged sunglasses. When the time comes to get yours replaced, all you need to do is cover a $12 service fee and they'll ship a brand new pair to your door. No questions asked. Additionally, a portion of all sales is donated to the First Responder Children's Foundation. Frontline shades are polarized and they offer free shipping and returns, so you can try them out risk-free. Check them out at frontlineoptics.com or on Instagram at frontlineoptics. While you're there, use discount code THESIZEUP for 15% off. That's code THESIZEUP, one word, for 15% off. Frontline Optics, sunglasses designed with the front line in mind. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 60 of The Size Up by National Fire Radio, because what you do off the job matters. And normally I ramble on for like a minute or two about my life or anything like that, but I have kept my guest very patiently waiting for like 30 minutes while we dealt with technical issues that, you know, when Sebi the producer is not hidden in the background, I have to figure out on my own. And it turns out that, hey kids, update your browser. That's an easy way to put it. I didn't notice that up in the top corner there was a thing that said my browser needed to be updated, and I did that, and now I have her back. So without further ado, Anna, how are you today after we've just spent a half an hour talking?
I am good today. I cannot complain.
That is always good, right? Complaining, nobody wants to listen anyway. And I do feel like I've done a lot of complaining to you in the last half hour, so you've heard me complain. So you just had to throw it out there. Venting, pistol. I didn't curse much though, so I'm pretty proud of that. And you got to see the back end, and we talk about this actually on the episode before yours is going to air. I interviewed two podcast hosts, and we talked a little bit about how not frustrating it is, but like this is the fun part, right? The interview and getting to talk to you and share your story is why I like doing this. The BS that you saw makes me want to like bang my head against the wall. And I feel like, you know, with your social media, so Anna and I have known each other on social media for, I'd say, several years, right?
Yeah.
Probably
5+ years.
I was thinking that, yeah. It's the years all blend together for me when it comes down to it at this point in life. But I'm pretty sure we've never really met, right? Or did we?
No.
Okay. Because I talked about that in my last one too, where I hate it when I'm like, I say that and somebody like my guest was like, yeah, like you forgot you met me at this show. And I'm like, I did. But, you know, I know a lot about you from following you on social media, but why don't you just tell all the listeners and viewers at home a little bit about yourself, what it is you do, and that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, basically, first and foremost, I'm a mom.
I love it.
But the firefighter paramedic thing came before that. But obviously, after having my daughter,
you've been a firefighter paramedic longer than you've been a mom, though, right?
Yes. Oh yeah. I got hired in 2012, but before that, I did it for 8 years as a volunteer.
Okay, all in the Maryland region too.
Yeah, I volunteered in PG and then got hired there, and you can't do both, so went from volunteer to career.
Well, the paycheck end of it gets kind of like, you know, kind of nice.
It's like, hey, if I'm gonna do it for free, I might as well get paid.
You know, and so right, let's we're gonna take a pause on your story now, because you just said kind of like, you know, it could be a controversial topic in our world in emergency services, right?
Oh yeah.
Where, you know, I too started out as a volunteer and then decided I want to make a career out of this. And listen, there is nothing wrong with volunteering to do things. However, in society these days, the emergency services has changed a lot since the days of volunteerism. And so leaning more towards the career side seems like the way to go, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I never really grew up thinking I was going to do it as a career. I just was like, I'm going to volunteer. My firehouse was right down the street. I loved volunteering. And I didn't really want to leave it when I got hired, but I had no choice since we can't work and volunteer in the same county. And starting up a new career, I was like, I'm not going to go and find somewhere else to volunteer.
Yeah,
So,
because it
and
takes a
it's just
lot
too
to volunteer.
busy.
Yeah, that's it. It takes a lot to be a volunteer. I mean, just in New Jersey alone, you're over 100 hours of training just to get your foot
Hmm.
in the door to get the first cert. That's on top of everything else. And,
Yeah.
with life these days and how busy everyone is and not, living in the community you work in, a lot of times the time is just not there.
Yeah, definitely not. And anytime I do have free time, I'm like, well, maybe I should sign up for overtime.
Which again is not necessarily a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
When it comes down to it in life. And listen, there are definitely, I've been fortunate to travel the country, and there are places where it's not feasible to have a career department, even to jump into like a county level because of distances and volunteerism is very large in those communities.
Hmm.
But here on the northeast area, I'll say you're in the northeast, the East Coast even area of the northern end of things, we are just too populous.
Hmm.
And you're
Yeah, I
fortunate that you
agree.
work in a county system which has been established many, many years ago there, right?
Hmm.
And so for the
Yeah,
folks
and
that
we're still combination, but the volunteer side, just ever since becoming career, it's gotten less and less and less.
now when you decided to volunteer way back when, was your family involved in it or was it just like, oh, that looks cool and people do it? Like,
I have zero family that was in the fire department before I was. My mom did encourage me to go do it. She knew somebody who volunteered at that station, and she kind of set up a little ride along for me because I was only 16. And after I went that first time, I was like, I'm hooked. So I just kept going. I got my EMT when I was 16, but I couldn't even ride aid until I turned 18. And then my sister actually joined after me when she turned 16. So both of us were in the fire department for a while, but she doesn't really do it anymore.
gotcha. Yeah, I too started at 16, in a scary sort of way. In olden times, the way the rules were here in New Jersey, as long as I rode with an 18-year-old person, 18 years or older, we made a crew. And I could even write the report, but that person would sign it. Which, like,
uh,
I look back now and I'm like, how was this even legally allowed
I
20 years,
know, I
a
know. I look
little
back
more than
on that
20?
a lot and I'm like, I had no clue what I was doing.
So it's an interesting thing, and it's really crazy because I always say this podcast like transcends my life, and we go into this with no plan on talking about anything. But I just read an article this morning about a career department here in New Jersey who's going through some recruiting stuff, let's just say. And one of the things that they're trying to start is what it sounds like an explorers program.
Hmm.
Like they're really big out west. I don't know if you guys have one, but it's a way for not just kids. Like when I would think of an explorers program, I would think it was like, the 12-year-olds that would come to the
Hmm.
firehouse and you're like, we're going to teach you kind of like being a scout of sorts.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of these programs, and I know the FDNY and the NYPD have one too, where you're over 18, you're 16 years to start, and you can do that up until you're like 22 or so.
Hmm.
And they don't necessarily ride or make decisions, let's say. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah.
Like I was tasked with being the EMT because I went to the class and was 17 years old and, maybe shouldn't have been.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I'm just glad I took it back then, though, because it wasn't National Registry, and there's no way I could have passed that as a 16-year-old.
And you think about that too. And I know for me, so I guess I started at 16. I got my EMT at 17. That was like the biggest achievement on my own to
Hmm.
date.
Oh, yeah. I felt so cool. I
I
think my
was the first
parents
time
took me out to dinner. They were like, "You passed EMT." I was like, "Yes."
I can go back. So again, I'm dating myself. I'll stop saying that. But we had payphones at my school, so I called my mom from the payphone when I knew the results were probably coming, like every day, to be like, "Did the mail come?"
Oh
Because
my gosh.
Jersey was so cheap, they would use your card as the mailing label. like in the
Mm.
little picture window there. So
Yeah.
it would say like, and she's like, it says your name on it. I'm like, what does it say after it? Does it say EMTA? Like I remember that phone call, like, and my friends like cheering because it was like I
Yeah.
did it. Like mom and dad didn't help me. No one helped me.
Hmm.
The instructors helped me in the class, but like I passed that test on my own.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a good feeling as a 16-year-old. You're like, wow, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely was, but it didn't mean I should have been doing some of the stuff that I ended up
Yeah.
doing. I don't think. Looking back, you look at it through a different lens now, where I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah. Once I got my paramedic, I was like, oh my God, I was such a dumb EMT. Like, I knew nothing. You become a paramedic and you're just like, wow, I know all this stuff. And like, I'm a little more smart and I just knew nothing back then.
You sort of feel the same way when I got my paramedic. I was like, all these years, like, why didn't they teach me this stuff in
Yeah.
EMT class? Like, why? This is important stuff.
Hmm. Exactly. Not just like, how do I take a blood pressure and how much oxygen should I give? Like,
Easy to us EMT firefighters, because that's what we do. We give the oxygen, the gas of life. We take blood pressures and maybe a pulse, and we wait for the ambulance to come. Please do not take that away from us. That's all we got. And a band-aid. I could give you a band-aid. I could
there
stop
are
the
good
bleeding.
EMTs. I'll give you that.
But the knowledge base for being an EMT, it seems like they throw so much information at you, but then what they want you to know compared to being a paramedic is minor, I feel like.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree.
And that in paramedic school was like such an eye-opener. And I had been an EMT, oh man, I don't know, like well over 10 years before I went to
Hmm.
paramedic school.
Same.
So I was like, holy, this stuff, man. And now I can do cool things.
Yeah, I was like, am I a doctor? And like right now I'm actually doing my paramedic refresher. And last refresher I actually challenged the National Registry and just took the test over again and I passed shockingly. But apparently I missed the deadline this year, so I had to do like a refresher program and I'm doing foam frat. I hate it.
I don't even know what that
It's like
is.
asking me doctor questions and I'm like I have no clue.
It's those things people never like. So I feel like, and I had an intro planned for you that I feel like following you on social media, you're like unapologetically you, which I think is one of the best qualities anyone can have. And
I
you
try.
literally just said that. You know how many paramedics and EMTs want to just say that? It's like, why are you asking me doctor questions? I'm
Yeah.
not a doctor.
But it's so true. Like even this refresher is way more complicated than National Registry. Like if I can go and take National Registry 4 years after being a paramedic and pass, I'd say it's not that bad. But now these tests, like every little module, I'm taking a 10-question test and I'm getting like 10%.
Those are the worst. And then they tell
It's
you, you're
so
like,
bad.
oh my God. And then you question yourself of like, do I
I
really know what I'm
know.
doing? Like, is this really where I should be?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm not really sure, my wife could tell me this in a second. Like, once you become a doctor, how long you have to recertify your doctorness. Like I know
Yeah.
there's a time frame. Like I know for my wife with being a physician assistant, I want to say it was like 7 or 10 years when she had to go take her boards again.
Oh,
And
really?
she like studied her ass off because she's like, I haven't done dermatology in since I
Yeah.
learned it in school, and now I have to take this test. It's different now than it was then.
Hmm.
But like when you think about your refreshers and keeping your skills active, like the main thing for a medic, once you learn the knowledge, in my opinion at least, is knowing your protocols.
Hmm.
Knowing, hey, this is an allergic reaction and I have to go through my steps, A, B, C,
Yeah.
D, E, whatever they are.
Yeah.
And one of my big issues was like they kept changing and I wasn't working a lot.
I know. They do change pretty frequently here. I would say the hardest part for me though is that we have all these skills and meds that we can give and we hardly do it because we don't run a lot of ALS. So you start to lose it. And when it
So,
comes time to actually do that, like when I had to give Cardizem the other day and I was like, "Oh my God, I don't even know how to mix it together because I've never done it." Like,
Cardizem, it's 3 rounds and it's all the same dosage, right? Is that
no,
Cardizem? Okay, then I'm total. Then don't
you're
even go
thinking
with
of
me then.
adenosine
Oh
probably.
man. All right. Well, don't worry
Cardizem
about
is
it.
like a
I'm not an
bag of
active
fluid and you
paramedic.
have to mix it with the powder. At least ours is.
But that's it too. And some days I would go to work, and Cardizem is a bag that you have to mix with the power and 2 day powder, and then I'd go back 2 weeks later, and no, it's in a vial. I'm like, wait, no, I
Mhm.
just was mixing it.
Yeah. I have people being like, "Oh, what do we give? Haldol?" And I'm like, "We don't carry that anymore. It's gone." And they're like, "What? When did that go away?"
They do change things quite rapidly, and I think you probably in a lot of the situation that I was in too, where in a urban type setting, you're pretty close to the hospital, or like
Hmm.
us, and you just don't have the time. Where I know people
Yeah.
that have hour-long transports where they're like, I used every med in the bag.
Yeah. No, that's the biggest thing for us because in my first due, our closest hospital is like 5 to 10 minutes from anywhere you're at. So if it's that bad, you're just going and doing whatever you can on the way. So you can get like a few things done off your algorithm, but it's not a lot.
Which is still the smart thing to do, because
Yeah.
occasionally you have the theory of, well, I'm going to camp out here because I can do a lot of things. And I'm like, no, we're
Yeah.
not
I
camping
am a
out.
big stay and play kind of person. I like to do whatever I can on the scene, get it over with, do my consult, and then go. Because I don't like walking the door like, oh, I didn't have time to do it. There
Oh,
sometimes it's not a rush.
we would have been rough partners, because I was like, let's go in the ambulance. We're doing it all. Wait, oh, sorry, doc.
That's
Didn't
the
get to
big
call you. We were
attitude
too
in
close.
PG. Yeah,
Didn't
they're
get to call
like,
you.
it's
Too
right, the
close.
hospital's right there. Let's just go.
I want to go. I wanted to go. And it's funny because people are like, yeah, but if you go, then you're just in the hopper for the next call. And I'm like, all right, I guess then that's kind
Yeah.
of the bonus of it too. But I want to go. Like, I just want to go. I don't want to be here. I don't. It's the same thing as being a firefighter. Like, I don't want to be on scenes if I don't have to be.
Hmm.
Like, if the fire's out and someone else is there to clean up, get me out of here. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
be here
I'm
anymore.
gonna
I
go
just,
back and eat.
yeah, I want to go back and eat. I want to go back and take a shower. Like, I don't understand the folks that are like, no, we're gonna stay. Like, I'm my
Hmm.
company. Like, I'm trying to back, so I'm on ladder now, and we only have one. And I'm like trying to look down the block to be like, can we get this ladder truck around that 5 inch? Like, how can we leave? Like, just tell the other
Yeah.
ladder to come park at the block. We'll meet him at the corner. I'll meet him up there. I'll give him the report up there. Any way to keep the ball moving. So,
Hmm.
all right, so we totally digressed into your life, but you are a firefighter paramedic, and we know that much now. But what else do you have going on that folks need to know about?
Um, the main other thing that I do is my workouts, obviously, which have changed over the years, but just since I guess you could say last year, I went full time strong man, strong woman, whatever you want to call it. So that's specifically what I train for. That's all I train for now. I don't do CrossFit anymore. I don't run. I don't do
So
powerlifting, but strongman encompasses a lot. So I'm still squatting, deadlifting, the regular stuff like that.
so like most of us in the fitness world, you've done the gambit of fitness opportunities, let's call them, right?
Hmm.
And some worked and some didn't, I guess, just like if with anything else.
Yeah. And I think sometimes you just get tired of certain things and you want to try something new. But for me, I feel like once I got into strongman, I was like, this is my thing. Because like CrossFit, I did a few competitions and I was like, wow, I'm really good at this and that, but can't do a pull up to save my life, can't do a handstand push up. So there was like aspects to it that I couldn't do at all. And I like strongman because I'm kind of good at all of it. And there's nothing that I'm like, I can't do that. So,
I think too a huge misnomer when we talk about strongman is that there is a huge cardio element involved in lifting
hmm,
heavy stuff.
yeah. No, people think like, oh, you're just like big and slow. All you're doing is like lifting one thing. But even just lifting a sandbag or a stone is getting your heart rate way up there. And a lot of our events involve carrying. So you're carrying it for a certain distance. And that's a lot of cardio right there. enough for
Lit
me.
Literally one of my worst like fitness movements is farmers carries. I'm like, what?
Ugh.
Who? I'm not a farmer. I don't live on a farm. I never wanted to live on a farm. I don't want to carry anything like this. And you think like, all right, maybe if I just lower the weight a little bit, it'll be easier. But it doesn't get
Hmm.
easier. There's just no. I've done them for God 15 years now, and they still suck every time. It's the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of those either. They just are like cardio and your grip is just dying the whole time. And they're a little awkward too.
Well, especially too in a strongman type competition because you're really using odd objects a lot of times. Like,
Hmm.
my wife and I were fortunate. We went out to the Arnold the first year they had women's strongman competition there.
Oh,
And my wife at the time, not my wife at the time, at the time, my wife was thinking about maybe
I
like
knew what you
doing
meant.
doing like strongman stuff. So we're like, dude, we're gonna watch this for sure. And we watched the guys. I mean, we got to watch the mountain compete. But that's where I realized, holy crap, this is like loads of cardio that I never saw before.
Hmm. Yeah, I love it. It's the perfect combination for me. And while I'm training, like, especially in the beginning of my training blocks, my coach throws in a lot of conditioning stuff as well. And then towards the end, before a competition, he kind of tapers off.
See, it's such a good way to say it. I never say that. It's not really cardio, it's conditioning, right? And
Mhm.
that's something we all need in life, but in our careers, we need it even more.
Oh, yeah, 100%. So I don't really get to ride fire trucks anymore. Once you become a paramedic in PG, you kind of just stay on a medic unit until you promote. So every once in a blue moon, I get to ride the fire trucks at my station. And I did like 3 shifts ago. And I put on like my full set of gear for the first time in months, like pack and everything. And all I did was like hop out of the engine, walk up a little hill, and like helped some guys rack hose. And I was like, oh my God, it's been too long. I was dying.
Sucks. This sucks so bad.
And you're like, I'm so strong. I pick up stuff all the time, but it's just totally different.
It is so uncomfortable in all that gear.
Yes,
Like
I agree.
I don't get the point of not saying that. Like it doesn't make
Yeah.
us less of a firefighter. Like I can say less of a man and you can say less of a woman, whatever you want to say. It's uncomfortable. And listen, it has gotten way lighter, way better. Something's got a little heavier, let's say. But like it's uncomfortable as hell to wear.
Yeah. And when you're just not used to doing it consistently, like it was so foreign to me. I was like, first of all, please let this fit. It all fit. But like my boots have shrunk just from not being worn. So like
Yeah.
trying to get them on, they're like old pro boots and they've just been sitting in my locker shrinking. So I'm like sitting there shoving my boot on going down the road. I was like, oh my God, this is so tight on my foot.
And it's that realization that you're like, I'm in good shape. Like I train, I do events like you do. No, I don't do those, but like I do things. I can do things really well. This is really hard. Like
Yeah, no, for sure.
we had a little fire, not a few, I don't know, whatever it was, not too long ago, and like there was a chair in the living room, like a plastic chair, and we were doing some overhaul, and I'm like, I'm just gonna sit in the chair. I'm like, you do the overhaul, Proby. Like I was like, I feel like I'm getting. It's like 3 a.m. I'm like, I feel like I'm getting old for this. And he's like, Cap, you're in
Yes.
better shape than me. And I'm like, yeah, think about that. I was like, think about that for your career, buddy. Let me talk to me in 20 years. You need to be in this shape because it's really effing hard.
Yes. And even the EMS side of it, little things here and there. Our monitors are so heavy and awkward. Just being able to carry that alone is like, okay, it's a little workout. And then, like, I have an intern right now, so I'm just kind of teaching her how to be a paramedic. And we had a working code last night, and it was in a tiny little bathroom. And she's like squatting down the whole time. I see the edge of the tub and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna sit on the tub right here. And we were done, and she was like, oh my God, I didn't realize how long I was squatting for. Like, my knees hurt so bad. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
it's like when you're young and the older provider is there and they like go to the kitchen table and pull up the chair and they're
Yeah.
just gonna sit and start like I can go back to the writing days when we had to write all the
Hmm.
things because we didn't have computers and like you're like, dude, why are you sitting at that person's kitchen table? And now
I
I'm like,
know.
aha, now I see why he was sitting at that person's kitchen table.
Yeah, there's a lot of places I won't sit, and it
Yes,
depends
for
on the
sure.
patient's house.
For
But
sure.
a
For
lot
sure.
of times, if it's nice, you're like, hey, yeah, let me just sit on the couch next to
Yeah,
you, get your
you don't mind.
info, chill.
Let's have a talk, Grandma. We could have a nice
Yeah.
little talk here. I could do this, like, but you don't think about that, and and we can go the EMS route, fire route, but even just the squatting alone, the kneeling, the lunging that you're kind of
Hmm.
doing in that like one knee pose, and they don't teach you that in EMT school, or they don't tell you
No.
it's important when you want to become an EMT.
Yeah, no. I think just having strength alone is necessary for sliding patients over from the nursing home bed to your stretcher. That's like the number one thing we do.
Yeah, and you're not as vertically challenged as I am. So I was always reaching further than everyone else when I was like pulling that top sheet over.
Yes,
And like that's a huge amount of strength you need.
I
And
know.
you sometimes there's some folks there that are like, I'm gonna help you. And I'm like, no, you're probably just gonna make it worse. Like, please don't help me.
Yes, I'm always like, okay, let me be the puller because I think for me, it's a lot easier to pull a sheet towards me versus like awkwardly lift and like push forward. So I
Yeah,
always try to
especially
take the pulling part.
when it's at height and you're like, oh, so there's me who's like, this is my height up over my shoulders, like trying to go across. And that's a totally different kind of strength that you requires
Yeah.
you to have. Like that's
Yeah.
next.
So like most of our stretchers are power load cots now. So all you're doing is pushing it in and hitting the button, but we still have a few reserve units that have the old stretchers that don't. And so I lifted one the other day and I was like, oh my God. I was like, I lost my stretcher muscles. Like, I'm not used to it. Same with CPR. Like, we never do it anymore because we have the Lucas
Lucas.
machines. And when I've had to do real CPR, I'm like, oh, this is weird. Like, my triceps are burning.
I forgot what this was like. Yeah, there is nothing. When that Lucas shows up or the Zoll shows up, and you're like, yes, put that on, please, thank you. Like we don't carry them, so EMS has got to get there. So
Yeah.
we're still doing CPR. But again, I get to be kind of the captain and be like, well, you do the CPR, man. I've done this for a really long
Yeah.
time.
Hey,
Like
new guy,
you can
you
do
do
it,
it.
or like, but you forget those muscle movements, and even
Hmm.
when you train, they still become a problem. So I think about
Yeah.
the folks out there who don't train, and I feel like maybe in your social media, because I know in mine it's happened a lot in the past, but I haven't been doing as much fitnessy stuff. You must get those questions like, I don't train, where do I start, right?
Yeah. Well, especially for a long time, earlier on in my career, I was doing the CPAP proctoring, which I loved. It's super fun. So yeah, I'd have a whole bunch of people show up. We would have like conditioning sessions to try and prep them for the CPAP. And you would have people that haven't worked out a day in their life. And it's like, yeah, where do you start? Like, it's tough. And you're probably not going to pass it between, now and 4 weeks from now. So I think the main thing I touch on with them is working on the Stairmaster because that's the hardest part for people. They always fail right there in like the first 10 seconds.
So because New Jersey is extra evil, we don't do the CPAT. We do our own PPT, physical performance testing evaluation. Yeah, PPT.
Hmm.
The stairs are in the middle. So
Oh,
you do like 4 events, then you do stair climb,
oh my
then you
God.
have 4 events left.
That's
Um,
probably worse, I would assume.
it listen, if you don't leave the okay, it's an easy way to put it for folks listening from New Jersey, in my opinion. If you don't leave the stairs gassed, then you haven't worked hard enough.
Hmm.
But if you leave the stairs and you can't do anything more, you didn't train hard enough.
Yeah.
Is the
Yeah, no,
easiest way
you
to
should
put it.
real right on the verge of dying.
Yeah, you just have to will yourself through the other events to get to the end, to the finish line there,
Hmm.
because those stairs are, and that's a big training thing that I see a lot of for folks out there looking to be getting the emergency services. I'm like, train stairs, just find stairs and train
Hmm.
stairs.
Yeah, if you don't have a Stairmaster, just do actual stairs, just do them with nothing first, add some weight, add more weight, increase your time and speed. That's pretty much all you can do.
And it's not even about your even the speed. Just do the stairs, man. Just
Hmm.
go up and down the stairs. Like it
Yeah.
was like the first time I ever did a stair climb, and I'm like, holy cow, 90 flights is a lot when you're at like 40. Like there's
Yeah.
still 50 to go.
And it's like totally different than the Stairmaster. And a lot of times when you're doing those stair climbs, you're doing it in gear, which is different than just the vest. So,
And then you have folks asking you, like, "Oh, do you guys do this? This should be easy for you. You probably do it every day at work." And I'm like, "Nah, we take the elevator."
yeah. I know. I used to pride myself in it because every time I'd get to the gym before doing the CPAC conditioning sessions, I'd hop on the stair mill with the vest and everything and just make sure I could still get through that 3 minutes and 20 seconds. And I'd be like, all right, I'm still good to go. But now I
Can do
haven't
it.
done it in years.
I have not done our test in years. I can very. It's been over 10 probably since I ran that course, and I really don't
Yeah,
want to ever do it again. So I guess I'm
me
good.
either.
I guess I'm good with that. Like I have nothing to prove to anyone when it
Yeah,
comes
I
to
can
that
do
end of
other
it.
stuff now, so I'm good with that.
I work out a decent amount. I'm good. I'm comfortable being this way. It's funny
Yeah.
though because I could never see myself saying that, but as I'm getting a little older, it's not that I'm slowing down. I'm just doing things differently
Hmm.
and just trying to like keep that consistency in my workouts and try something new. Like
Yeah.
I'm not doing strongman for sure, but like trying to do carries and things like things that simulate job activities, but with fitness equipment. Like that's been a
Yeah.
big part of my last 5 years for sure.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. As long as you're doing something that's going to keep you healthy and still good at the job, because there's just so many people on the job that do nothing. And it's
And
like, it's a little scary knowing you're out there doing this job and like, are you prepared at all?
yeah, like and too like adrenaline gets you through. Like the
Hmm.
adrenaline will definitely that's a helper. Like that is
Oh, yeah.
clutch for a lot of the things we do. It's the come down from the adrenaline that is the
Hmm.
literally the killer.
Yeah, no, we have people in rehab all the time getting their blood pressure checked, and it's like through the roof. And they gotta get sent home because their blood pressure is too high to go back to work.
And most of those folks too, and not to really, to talk bad about folks, but they're not getting regular checkups that they would
Mm-mm.
already know. Their blood pressure, like just because you went to a job doesn't mean your blood pressure goes through the roof. Your blood pressure
Yeah.
was probably through the roof before the job or
Hmm.
high, and now it's through the roof. Like that's what being a paramedic teaches you.
Yeah, exactly. But it like eventually should come down. And if it's been like 30 minutes now and it's still up, it's not good.
So, you mentioned competing in strong man, strong woman. I don't want to get yelled at, so I'll say both for now, just to make sure no one, crushes me on the internet when they read
Hmm.
this, right? But that adrenaline spike that you're getting in those competitions, that's a lot like when we go to jobs and then you have to come
Yes.
down to it. So you're training for that without even really knowing it, right?
Yes, 100%. And it's so easy for me to train at home by myself. There's no pressure at all. The second I go to my competitions, I'm just like sweating, heart racing, like I'm like I kind of want to take a shot before I do this because I'm so nervous.
You don't need this shot though, but that's a big part of it, right? Is just getting over those nerves and putting yourself
Hmm.
out there again, being unapologetically you and competing with who knows who's showing up that day. Like I don't know what the scene is like down by you. I know in Jersey it's here, it's not huge, but
Yeah, no. Well, and I've always done the same strong woman competition for the past, I think this will be year 7 for me. It's called Charm City Strong Woman. It's just like a benefit competition for the lady who owns the gym. Her sister died from cancer. So she does it for her every year. And finally, last year, I did a different one, my coach's competition, and I won first place. And I didn't really realize that that was going to qualify me for nationals. And he was like, yeah, you can go to nationals. And I was like, what does that mean? Like,
They
where?
have
And they're like,
those.
oh, it's in Erie, PA. I was like, all right, I guess I'll do it. And then that was a super humbling experience. Like, I get there and just get crushed. I mean, I got 14th out of 28th. So I was like, all right,
It's not
middle of the
crushed.
road.
Yeah, like you didn't even know you were going. Like, and
Yeah.
even
I
doesn't.
had I had like a month to prepare, which was kind of nice because it didn't let me get like too hyped up for it. I was just like, I'll go and see how it goes and whatever. Um, but the top, I think it was 8 people got an invite to the Arnold from that competition. So I didn't get an invite, but I actually had already signed up for World's Strongest Firefighter at the Arnold. So I'm going either way.
Oh, so that's in like a week or so, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, this
It's
this this
it's
episode will
March
be out
1st and
after that. But
2nd.
yeah, holy cow! Good luck to you. That is
I
awesome.
know. Yeah,
Have you
today was
been?
my second to last workout, so I'm just gonna work out one more time tomorrow, and then I get a week of rest slash like, walking and stuff.
Have you been to the Arnold?
No,
It is
I'm
an
super excited.
experience.
I've always heard about it and seen pictures and stuff, and now I'm going. I'm just like, oh my God, this is nerve-wracking. I'm already starting to get nervous just talking about it.
It is the way that I can describe it is it's a petri dish of fitness. Every
Oh, yeah.
fitness you know existed, and then like 30 more you didn't know existed, all exist at the Arnold.
Yes, I was just looking at the like itinerary the other day and seeing what time everything was, and I was like, what is medieval fighting? Like,
Yeah, there you go.
that's a category.
100%. Dudes in armor beating each other.
Like, are they going to be jousting?
oh no, I can't because it was a while ago. My wife and I watched something that I was like, I can't believe this is fitness, but good for those people and they're doing it. Like, it's like
I
go.
think foosball's going to be there.
You have to go to ballroom 12 to see this. I'm like, we're going to
Yeah.
ballroom 12. I need to see whatever this is. I don't even know. I can't even. And and you're like rubbing elbows with all the greats in the fitness world because they're all there.
Yeah.
I mean, Arnold was literally as far away from me as where my camera is right now. I mean, he just walked by. And I'm like, holy
Yeah.
shit, it's Arnold. Like,
You're
he's
like, can
really
I
here.
touch you?
So I think this is the second year for World's Strongest Firefighter, maybe third. I know it's pretty
I
new.
think third.
Yeah. So do you know the
Yeah.
events you have to do?
Yes. It's kind of a lot. The first thing is the sandbag toss, the one where you're throwing it
Okay.
over.
I've watched you do
And
that a
that's,
lot.
yeah, that's 13 feet high, and you got to throw various weights. What else do we have? There's a press medley where you got to do sandbag overhead, circus dumbbell, axle bar, a barbell with chains,
God.
a log, and a keg. So that press medley is going to be interesting, and my weights are pretty heavy. We also have to do sandbag to shoulder. There's ambulance tire deadlift, and then the last event, which is if you get into the finals, is a fire hydrant press, and I have no clue how that's going to happen. Like, I got
Like
one, somebody just
everyone?
happened to hit one, so I
Sure.
have one to practice with, but it's 135 pounds and I have yet to get it overhead.
Yeah, it's quite awkward too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So awkward.
I've moved a few fire hydrants, let's say, in life. So like, yeah, it's quite awkward. So that's
Yeah.
interesting. But and everyone, no matter what, has to do that event. Like if you make it to there, I guess it do.
Yeah, so the only thing is like the finals is a small amount of people. Like day one, the preliminaries, only 2 girls from my class will move on to finals. So I got to
Gotcha.
be in the top 2 after day one.
Listen, whatever. You're there. Enjoy
Yeah.
yourself. Have fun,
Yeah.
right? Because now we're talking
Either way,
before you
it's
go, and
exciting.
this will be out after. But the goal is have fun and meet people, right? Like
Yeah.
that
No, for
networking.
sure.
Like I know some folks that are in it, and they're all great people. You know, the people I know that
Yeah.
I've seen posted about going. So that's pretty awesome. Good for you. I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm already following like a couple people that I know are going. And it's been nice to like connect with people online already, and like no one's being rude or like super aggressive about it. They're just like, "Oh, can't wait to meet you and compete with each other." And it's been really friendly.
I mean, again, that's the majority of the public firefighter community, the majority of the public fitness community.
Hmm.
But then we have the keyboard communities that are out there that in social media we all deal with, right?
The trolls, yes.
Where their account is private, they posted one time, but they want to tell you
Hmm.
everything you say or do is wrong.
Hmm.
And I know, unfortunately, you deal with some of those because, again, being unapologetically you pretty much call those folks out in a polite
Oh,
way, I'll
yeah.
say.
Like, I'm sure after you post this, I'm gonna get reposted somewhere, hitting it hard from the yard. Um, because they love to repost me. And the guy who runs the page loves to mess with me. And we've literally like had a war back and forth. And he's just like a child. I'm like, dude, grow up. You literally live off of like making fun of people.
It's definitely not the community you want to be associated with in that
No.
way when you look deeper past the funny meme and read the comments, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those are things too that, there's always going to be a troll, there's always going to be a hater, but that's not stopping you from being you, right?
Yeah.
And
No,
it,
I'm definitely still gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and they can make fun of me all they want. I don't really care.
yeah, literally, that's like, I'm not 5 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my 10-year-old gets made fun of, and I have to tell him, like, buddy, don't worry about it. I know it's
Yeah.
impossible. This ruined your life, but it's going to continue forever, and
Mhm.
you're way better than this. Let's go get some ice cream or something like that,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's sad that there's still adults out there that do it. And listen, I've been fortunate that I get a lot less than I know you do, because again, there's just males out there that want to pick on females is an easy way to put it. And
Hmm.
unfortunately and we talk about it from an emergency services point of view, but it is definitely in every field that's there. And
Yeah,
anyone
for
posting
sure.
has these folks. And it's just a matter about being you. And when I look at like your body modifications that you have, be it tattoos or piercings, that's what you want to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, and people will definitely say stuff about that, comments like, they allow that at your work. And I'm like, yes, they do. I'm not breaking some kind of rule. And it doesn't change the fact of how I do my job. So that's what really matters.
I think that's another thing with like the trolls, as we can just keep calling them now, is like, sure, where you work, they may not allow visible tattoos, but where
Mm,
I work, they do. So
yeah.
I'm not breaking the rules. If I worked where you worked, I would not have these, or I would not work there, is
Yeah,
an easy way to put
exactly.
it, right? And I do hope that we're beyond society of like, oh, that person has tattoos, they can't do this job.
I
That
know.
that I think we're beyond that. I just think the folks that do have these policies still, they're just because they're policies. Just like
Yeah.
you have policies where you work that you're like, why do we still do this?
Yeah, we just got allowed to wear shorts. That's like
Oh,
huge for us.
short
I
season is my
probably
favorite
won't,
season.
but
Oh, it's the best season ever. If it could be 24 or 3, oh no, I lost you.
oh,
There you
sorry,
go.
that was me.
If it could be 365 days a year, because we have short season in my department,
Hmm.
and it's super hot here, I would be in them 24/7.
Well, when you're like actually putting on bunker pants and stuff, that totally makes sense. But
No, I would still be in them 24. I mean, when I ride up on the car, you're not allowed to wear shorts on the car, because we generally don't put our gear on. And all summer last summer, I spent on the car, and like I got like a month and a half of short season, and then it was just pants. It was so
ugh,
sad.
it's the worst. They're just so uncomfortable. When you're sweating, they just like stick to you.
Yes, it's horrible. It is every bit.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would wear them all winter if I could, just for the fact that yeah, it could be 1 degree out and we have a fire. My pants, I can wring them out at the end. Or at least if I have shorts, it's just like leg hair sweat, not
Yeah.
pants and like plus leg hair sweat.
Exactly.
I talk about that too with like working out hard, where I'm like, this extra weight that I'm getting from sweat is like my conditioning for work because I get
Hmm.
this in a fire scene or an extrication scene no matter what. So
Yeah.
It's another important gel thing too for my hair because I used some gel once that was like melting down in my face. And I'm like, nope, can't use this gel ever again.
It's probably flammable.
I had never caught on fire, so I never went with the flammable bottles, but I definitely had some that just like melted down. I'm like, my eyes, I can't see. The gel has melted into my eyes. Like, what do you do?
That's terrible.
But I mean, I love it too. And literally, I mean, I have tattoos, but I do not have as many as you, and I do not have as many visible ones. So, what made you kind of say like I can't see myself having neck tattoos? That's just me. But what made you say like, all right, I want to do this?
Yeah, it was a big step. And my husband even tried to like talk me out of it. He was like, "You sure you want to do it?" And a lot of my decision was just based on, first of all, I see other people in my department that have them, neck tattoos. So it's allowed. I'm not going to get in trouble. And if for some reason I got called out for it and they didn't,
You have that.
EEO.
All hail the union.
But, one, I'm kind of running out of real estate. And two, I just love the way it looks. I love it. And I really wanted to just go for it. I always make a lot of like bold decisions. So I was like, all right, YOLO.
Listen, that's it. And but the key thing you said there for the kids listening, it's like my Keith Hernandez Mets announcer line for the kids listening. You have to love them to get them, right? Like my wife has tattoos, I have tattoos. My boys are like, when can we get tattoos? And I'm like, when you're 18, like, because
Yep.
that's how long I had to wait, and I feel like that's a good time. And Daddy got this one tattoo when he was 19, and look how stupid it is. So you really have to want it, and you really have to like it. Like, just think about that. Compare my two arms, and let's talk.
Yeah,
Because
no,
that's a huge part of it.
100%. I did the same thing. I started as soon as I was 18, and a lot of those first ones are questionable, not the best,
But now
but
you've
they've
probably
just
been able to
gotten
hide
better.
them. Can you like hide them, blend them into other ones that maybe look a lot better?
Possibly. Yeah. I mean, there's only a few that I'm like, but a lot of those aren't, you don't see them anyway, so it's not a huge deal. But I knew when I was getting these on my neck that I wanted it to be done by someone who was really, really good. And I waited for this girl for a long time. And finally, she emailed me back and she was like, I have this date available. I was like, yes, I'll take it.
The patience of waiting, right? Because a lot of bad tattoos come from spur of the moment decision making.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want that, and just point on the wall and get it.
Yep. You
And
can't
you don't
really
know.
get a good walk-in tattoo anymore.
It's pretty rough. And if you
Yeah.
do, and I've been fortunate, I have two of them that I got in Key West. My wife got them. It's like a thing now. We go to Key West, we get the same tattoo. But they're very basic. Like,
Yeah.
and they both actually, like, I'm really impressed with the work that we got done. But it's that wary of like, I don't know who you
I
are. I haven't
know. Yeah, it's
flipped through your
scary.
little
It's a big
book.
commitment, but it's also like fun and exciting. You're like, all right, let me just go for it and hope for
Oh,
the best.
it is so fun and exciting getting a tattoo. Like,
Yeah.
even when people are like, "What about the pain?" and I'm like, I kind of like that end of it. Like, it's like it's painful, but there's like whatever you want to call it. That's why I do it. It's why I work out really hard. Why I do a lot of different
Yeah.
things. Right? That adrenaline rush of it. I've just run out of, like, I say, time and money. Like, that's what it comes
Hmm.
down to for tattoos for me, is just time and money.
Yeah. And they're way more expensive than they used to be.
Yeah.
At least you get what you pay for
Well, that
usually.
I was gonna say that too. The quality of work has gone up so much, and
Hmm.
it's just cool. Like, I even like how my kids too are like, "Well, that looks like a good tattoo. That does not look like." If we see people out, they're like, "What was that guy thinking?" And I'm like, "You don't want to know what that guy was thinking." Like, and you look at the art from watching even the tattoo shows and things about like steady lines. Like, I find myself looking at all these things now just because I'm interested in it.
Yeah. No, for sure.
No judgment on yours though. I can't tell your line work or anything like that. But it's that, right? It's a use, even in yours, like the use of negative space, the use of shading, like all these
Hmm.
things really matter to make them art, because that's what I want on my body. I want art. I just don't want stuck on.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it just comes down to like, I get bored so easily with everything, which is why I have a lot of tattoos, a lot of piercings. I change my hair a lot. Like, I just get bored and I want to like change things up.
I'm gonna keep you away from Mrs. Pip because she gets bored too because she now has like I don't know how many different pairs of eyeglasses that are in her repertoire of she has like a I call it like her band it's like a bag, but it turns into like a bandolier of just prescription eyeglasses of
Oh my
different
God.
veins. Like we're going somewhere and she's like, "Which glasses do I bring?" I'm like, "I don't give it. They all look good. Bring whichever ones you want because you have the little book. Just carry your little pocketbook. Like as you're like
Yeah.
the TSA pre guy will be like, there's 17 pairs of prescription glasses in this bag." Yes. Yes, sir, there is. I'm bored with my glasses.
Luckily, I don't need glasses, so not an issue for me.
Well, should you have the issue, I can tell you, you can be very individualized in your pursuit of them, which like just that alone, for your daughter, right? Daughter?
Mhm.
See, I pay attention. I just forget a lot of things at my age, but like to teach her those types of lessons growing up, like, look, be an individual. Like, don't do anything wrong, don't do anything stupid or crazy, but you can be an individual. You don't have to necessarily follow everyone else.
Yeah. And a lot of times I don't even realize the things that I'm doing and how they might influence her. Like, I'm totally expecting her to want her first tattoo as soon as possible. And that's fine. I have to realize that. But I was just thinking about it the other day how, like, oh, I've, been getting some procedures done, my tummy tuck and stuff like that. And I'm like, ugh, I don't want that to negatively impact her and think that, like, she has to change her body. So it's one of those things that I've kind of just mentally thought about how I'll talk to her about it when she asks about it. But for right now, she hasn't really like cared too much.
And trust me, you can think about it all you want, right? And the day that question comes out, you're going to say the right thing for you and your daughter.
Yeah.
Because I've felt that parenting. I mean, we just had a little incident last week where I was like, "Ooh, you got me on this one, man. I gotta come up with something good on the fly here." Like, but you're gonna come up with a thing because there is no right answer for
Hmm.
whose kid when they ask that any of those questions. It's just you're their parent and you're gonna make the right decision. So
Yeah.
good luck. Let me know how it works out because I'm always interested after some of the things I've gotten. Like, you know, it's just even like when you go to the boardwalk and they can get like a tattoo, it's not like the stick-on tattoo. Like you're
Hmm.
paying like $40 for someone to draw art on their arm, and I'm like, this is
Yes.
gonna wash away. Why can't you just get a real one? It would stay forever.
I know.
My little guy is getting close to getting his ear pierced. We let his brother do it when he was 12, so
Oh,
he's like,
nice.
one more year, and I'm like, okay, one more year. Now the 12-year-old is like, when can I get another one? I'm like, oh, I didn't plan for
Ooh.
this.
Yeah, we let my daughter get hers last summer. I think we got it like right when she went on summer break. She had been asking about it over and over, and I didn't want to do it when she was a baby. My thought was, I'll wait until you're ready and you want to do it. And so she asked me, and I was like, all right, it's fine with me. And
That's it.
she handled it like a trooper. She was awesome.
It was funny. I had an earring. I was like 19. I got one, and like my father was ready to cut my ear off, like 100%, right? So now his grandson, my son, gets his ear pierced, and I'm like, "Fuck, he's gonna kill you, man! Like, good luck with that, right?" And so my dad doesn't even notice it, but he's trying to hide it from him a little bit. So I have to clue. Now my dad's in his 80s, love him to death. I had to like clue my dad in to be like, "Dad," and got his ear pierced. And what does he say back to me? He's like, "Oh, that's cool." I'm like, what the
Yes.
hell? You told me you were gonna cut my ear off. I was 19. He's 12. And he's like, well, he's not my son.
Yes.
So, ha.
Dude.
So,
I've realized the exact same thing with my parents. As grandparents, they're
yeah,
like so lax. Like, you can do no harm.
no, nothing. So then I set my dad up to go out and where my son is now, hiding from him, and like he's trying to walk to like the side where the ear's pierced, and my son's like, oh, Poppy, like leaning his arm on thing. And meanwhile, my dad's like, "Oh, it looks great." I was like, "You gotta be kidding me! This is my life, man. This is what it comes down to." So, So aside from our mess up before, I've kept you way too long adding into that, and I want to get into the size up 10. But you're already going to be over at the Arnold, but I know you're going to have a lot of pictures on there. So where can everybody follow you on social media?
Um, Definitely my Instagram is the main thing that I post on, which is Anna LaGrave 42. Um, I just got a TikTok, but I've posted like two things, so
Me
I
too.
really have not got that off the ground. And I don't give out my Snapchat.
Very, very, very smart on that one. I would not
I get
not
asked
suggest
for it a
that one a
lot, and
lot.
I'm like, nah.
I don't doubt that. I don't want to know what you get sent or asked for, or anything like that. Even just on Sunday, you blurt out some of the questions that
Oh,
were getting
yeah.
posed to you because
Because I was
I
like, my mom follows me on here. I'm not going to repost this. Like, she's going to see it and be like, oh my God.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Like the last one was risque enough. You don't have to post this. But
I
again,
know.
that's the unapologetically cute, right? Like, hey, I'll talk about this, but I'm not going to talk about that. And I'm going to
Yeah.
still tell you why. Like, I think that's a big deal for people because you have folks that will just ignore it. And that's not being their true self either.
Hmm. Yeah. I used to put a disclaimer at the beginning of every Sunday Secrets and Confessions being like, don't send me rude, crude, inappropriate stuff. Don't ask me questions because that's not what it's about. And I would remind people that when they send me their responses, I see who it is. Like, it's not anonymous all around. It's anonymous when I repost it, but I see who's sending it. And like, I think people don't realize that because I've literally
Oh my
reposted
God.
someone's response and they message me and they're like, that was mine. I'm like, I know. It's so
We're gonna
bad.
we're gonna have to have you come on again for just social media lessons. Like I feel like you could almost give a segment. And now that you've said this, I'm like, I have an idea for the size up, like a weekly segment to be like, don't do this. It's bad.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how this works. Awesome. So you ready for the size up 10? These 10 questions I ask all my guests and see what happens kind of thing.
Sure.
These are literally questions I'm asking you, just so we're clear. Like you get it, I
Okay.
ask you the question, you give me the answer, because I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe you're like some of the people that send you things that are like, I didn't understand the question. I didn't know you were gonna know it was me. All right, here we go. Number one: beach or mountains?
Beach, for sure. I love to tan.
Very nice. Good reason. A night out or a night in?
In my old age now, I'm appreciating nights in more.
I feel like I need to get rid of that question because mostly my guests are a little bit on the older side and we're all just like a
Yeah.
night in. Or someone did say a night out home by 10 and I'm like, yes, that's my
Yeah.
night out. Night out home by 10.
Agreed.
100%. Maybe that'll change. Maybe I can change that. All right, here we go. A good book or a good movie?
A good movie. I haven't read a book in ages
Oh
because I
boy.
just like, if I do have the time and I try, I usually fall asleep. I'm really bad at like falling asleep when I try to read.
Into the book, like,
Yeah.
it's kind of how I am studying for the promotional exam.
Hmm.
All right, cross country road trip. Who is your celebrity co pilot, living or dead?
Oh my God. That's a hard question.
Hey, listen, the size up. We dig deep here.
I'm not like a huge celebrity follower, so I'm just trying to think of somebody like hot that I wouldn't mind staring at the whole time.
Oh, no, I hear you.
um, we'll just go with my old fave, Ben Affleck.
Oh, there you go. There you go. You
Although
have to wear.
now he probably is looking a little rough, but
So do you want like Ben Affleck, like Goodwill Hunting Ben Affleck? You could pick him. I mean, why not? It's your world. Like, which one do
how
you want to
about
pick?
from Pearl Harbor? That's my fave. It's the
Oh, okay.
uniform.
The uniform, the throwback kind of look, and like,
Yes.
all right, I can see where that's leading. So good for you. That should be a fun road trip for sure. I'm sure the conversation will be amazing. Do you make your bed every day?
Yes, only because of my husband. I was not a bed maker. And once we started dating and living together, he was like, you have to to start off the day with making your bed. I was like, fine.
I absolutely, that could have been the best answer to this question yet. Because some people are just like, no, and they don't want to answer yes. But you're like, no, it was my husband. Props to your husband on that one. Good job, buddy. It's good.
He
Good.
trained me.
Always happy to see a husband, helping a wife do something and a wife
Yeah.
admitting that their husband, like sometimes I tell my wife, like once a year I get a good idea and run with it. So the rest are all hers. Give me see, this could be a rough one for you. How about a book that everybody needs to read?
Oh, God. I'm trying to think of any books that I have read.
Probably like a kid's book now. You probably read a couple good Dr. Seuss ones to your kid.
I know. Classic Green Eggs and Ham.
I mean, you
Like,
can't
if
beat
you
that.
haven't read it.
Duh, you're missing out on a page turner right there. I mean, I could almost still recite it, and it's been a really long time since I've read that one. So,
Luckily, no, I don't know if it's luckily, but my daughter's not super into books. She has a whole bunch of them, but she doesn't really ask me to read to her that much, which I'm kind of okay with.
my older son, it was the going to bed book. Oh my God. Oh my God. I can repeat that right now, and I'm not going to go. But like, every night, multiple
Yeah.
times. Like,
Yeah, and that's the thing. She has been on little kicks where she's like, read it again. And I'm like, no, you only need one time.
highways or back roads, which one are you taking?
Back roads. So I have the option to do like 495 to my station or go all these little back roads. It's about 15 minutes longer. So as long as I have the time, I'll leave early and take the back roads because I hate the Beltway.
Well, in a strange turn of events, this morning you were talking on your story about driving on the highway and 80 wasn't fast enough for some people. So
Yes, which is, and sometimes I will take the back roads home if I have like no reason to get home on time. But I was cutting it a little close with like taking my daughter to school, so I was like, all right, I'll take the Beltway. But yeah, I'm like doing 80 in the right lane and people like aggressively pass you and I'm like, "Oh, sorry." Like
I'm all the
didn't
way
mean to
over
be in your
here.
way.
This is the slow side. See, in New Jersey, the rules are the rules. If you're going slow, you stay to the right. If you're going fast, you stay to the left. And out of
That's
state
how it
people
should
just get
be.
out of the way. We have set rules. Other people don't listen to them.
No, I feel like that's common sense slash you learn it in driver's ed, but we have people that just hang out in the left lane going 50 miles per hour, and it's just like, what are you doing?
Killing me. Killing me, Smalls. All right, two more. Football or football?
Well, I grew up playing soccer, so I guess I'd say football.
Very nice.
I'm
Very nice.
not a huge sports person though. Like I don't watch sports at
Gotcha.
all.
That's
So I'm
mm,
only basing that off of that I used to play it.
nice. It's a good way to base it for sure. All right, the last one. The best piece of advice you could give to your younger self.
I would just tell myself to try and stay under the radar way more than I did. Be a little bit more quiet and reserved, and just not be so big on social media.
The younger you made some errors, I'm guessing, in that statement, which is okay too, because you've clearly learned from them. And,
Yeah.
you're helping other people learn from them too, which I think is a huge part of our obligation to the future generation
Yes.
is to be like, don't do this. I did it. You don't want to do it. Trust me.
Yeah. And I get a lot of like female specific questions when we have people that, just come out in the field, brand new rookies. And I've had a couple girls be like, "What's some advice you could give me, as a girl?" And I'm like, don't let any of these dudes try and talk to you. They're going to try and date you. That's not what they want. You're literally a piece of roadkill. They're vultures. Just don't even get involved. Like, yes, some fire department relationships work out, but as a rookie, you should just be staying out of it because
Yeah.
it's only going to give you a bad name.
It's 100%. Whether you're a dude or a guy or a girl, you should just
Yeah,
stay out of it. You have one job to
agree.
do when you're new, and that's be new, right? That's
Yeah.
it. Don't
Yeah,
worry
you should
about.
not be focusing on relationships. And again, I made that mistake not immediately. I think I was done with my rookie book, but it was definitely something that happened that I was like, all right, I think I've learned my lesson. I'm not doing this again. Hence the reason I'm not married to a firefighter.
I too am not married to a firefighter, so I can have that disclaimer as well.
Yeah,
But
it just
you know,
works out better.
it's such a big part of life, though, is learning from your past mistakes, and again, taking it as your obligation to pass that knowledge on. And I think you've done a great job with that. And I was happy to have you on here with me today for your first podcast ever.
Dang. I
Other
know, it's so
podcast hosts out
exciting.
there that listen, we have a great guest with loads of stuff. Like, I'm shocked that you haven't been on like a strong. See, you said strong woman before, so I'm going to say strong woman podcast now. But like, no one's really been like, oh, you got to come. So we'll get you out there. We'll get you on some of these
Yeah,
more podcasts, I think.
I'm definitely down to do another.
Awesome. And so, as I always end things, we appreciate everybody tuning in and listening. Appreciate all of our sponsors. I obviously appreciate Seb and Jeremy for helping out with the Size Up and getting us off the ground there. So, for the Size Up by National Fire Radio, this has been Pip. And remember, what you do off the job matters.
National Fire